couple weeks ago, I did 2 aloe vera videos back to back, and now it's time for the Hoyas to take center stage. I've done growing Hoyas indoors, and this is all about growing Hoyas outdoors. Hoyas are just as easy and just as attractive, just as durable and just as long-lasting outdoors as they are indoors, and there are many different species and varieties of Hoyas, a lot to choose from. I think they're fabulous plants. Oh, and their common name is they go by a few, but the most common name besides just Hoya is wax plant and honey plant. There is going to be a post to accompany this video with many more details. I'm just going to cover a few points here, probably about 5 or 6. So look for the link to the post down below. It's also on our website, joyasgarden.com. Now, most of you probably grow Hoyas indoors, but if you're in a warmer climate like I am here in Tucson, you can grow them outdoors. I also grew Hoyas outdoors when I lived in Santa Barbara, California for 10 years. And they're 2 very different climates, but my Hoyas did great in both of them. And even if you're in a colder climate, your Hoya might enjoy a vacation outdoors for the summer, so these points will apply to that also. Now, growing them outdoors is similar to growing them indoors. A lot of the points are the same, but there are a few that differ, and I will cover those few points at the end. I'll just do a pan for you so you can see what's going on here. My Hoya carnosa variegata, or variegated Hoya, is in a tall, narrow pot, and it's trained on bamboo hoops. And it grows like crazy here. Oops, over there, yes, you can see the pencil cactus I cut back and I transplanted, and we moved over there. So, exposure. This is under a covered patio. It has a north and a west exposure. It doesn't get very much sun now at all because of the angle of it. It is late November. In the summer, I put up sheer curtains just so it protects my succulents and the Hoya a little bit from the hot desert sun. So it's very, very bright shade, but very little direct sun at all. When I lived in Santa Barbara on the coast of California, morning sun was no problem at all because the sun is not as intense there, and also you can get the maritime layer too. So sometimes it's a little foggy in the morning. So basically you want to keep them out of a lot of hot, direct sun when growing outdoors. All right, so we're gonna focus in so you can see the beautiful white leaves and pink stems too. Watering. I water mine a little bit more outdoors than I do indoors. In the summer, it's once a week. Give them a good amount of water. In the winter, I probably water this one about every 2.5 to 3 weeks. But again, it's in a very tall pot. Hoyas do not like to have their feet wet, i.e. their roots do not like to stay constantly moist. So be sure to let it almost dry out before watering again. Indoors, I let it dry out completely. Outdoors, I keep it dry, but oftentimes it doesn't go bone dry. So we'll cover cold tolerance. Tucson can get about 8 nights below freezing per winter season. And otherwise, the evenings are usually around 35 to 40. Hoyas handle them just fine. If we're going to get below, right around or below 32, I will throw a towel over this plant, and it has done the trick. In Santa Barbara, I didn't do that. There were a couple times we got right around freezing, but usually the winter temps are right around 40 degrees at the lowest. Here's some of that gorgeous growth, and more of it has come out as it's gotten older. It used to be just green and white with just little tinges of pink, but now there's much more pink in it. Because this one is probably about 6 years old, maybe 7, I forget. Anyway, it's over 5 years old. And the soil mix that I found that they like is one that I blend up myself. It's succulent and cactus mix, potting soil, orchid bark, and cocoa coir. And of course, compost and worm compost. I will leave the ratios in the blog post. And I've also done a post about repotting this plant that will have some of those details in it for you too. As for fertilizing or feeding, I just do the worm compost and the compost, and it's always made my plant nice and healthy. I know different people have different opinions on what fertilizers for Hoyas. I really can't shed too much on that because I haven't ever fertilized mine. I've only used the amendments to nourish it. And in terms of pests like flies, this one, my Hoyas growing outdoors get the orange aphids in the spring, and they love that tender new growth, and all I do is I hose them off, blast them off gently, and poof, they're gone. But I will leave links to the posts I've done on aphids, mealybugs, because they are susceptible to mealybugs indoors, scale. I'll leave the post to those, the links to those in the blog post for you. Now the same thing applies to Hoyas, indoors and outdoors. In terms of pets and being non-toxic, ring the bells. Hoyas are non-toxic to us and to our pets also. Now that doesn't mean that if your cat or dog chews on a Hoya, it's not going to make them sick. It's just not going to kill them. So that's good news. My friend and neighbor Susie grows a Hoya outdoors also, and has been doing so for a long time here in Tucson. So we're going to head down to her porch so I can show you her plant, which just happens to be in a hanging pot. And this is my neighbor Susie's Hoya. It's been in this pot for probably around 15 years. It was a little neglected last year, but it still looks okay. It's just a testament how hardy they are. And she said it was variegated at one time, so it probably is the Hoya carnosa variegata, but it's just turned a solid color. So that's all I'm going to cover in the video. I will say that Hoyas flower much more readily outdoors for me than indoors. So I have gotten them to flower indoors, but outdoors it is more often. Okay, so the points that differ a little bit outdoors and indoors is outdoors they need shelter from the sun, no direct hot sun at all. Indoors they can take more sun just as long as it's not up against the hot glass or in a burning window for 3 or 4 hours. I just make sure mine are not getting any direct sun out here. I water mine more often outside, especially in the summertime. Now, if you're in a more humid climate, you probably won't need to because it's not going to dry out as fast. And let's see, there was one other thing. Oh yes, the pests. Mine get aphids outdoors, whereas indoors, I've seen them, mine have never gotten them, but I've seen them with mealybugs. Oh, and the other thing too, is that they grow faster outdoors. In my experience anyway. What I share with you in these videos is my experience from growing these, because growing up as a kid we had a greenhouse and my dad was into a lot of plants, so I've been growing Hoyas for a long time. Now this was back in New England, back in the old days. So if you are truly interested in growing Hoyas outdoors, be sure and head to the blog post for more details. The link will be down below and also on our blog. Boy, you know, the birds around here always have a lot to say. So I hope you have found this video about growing Hoyas outdoors to be helpful. I love my Hoya topiary. I love to look at it. People always remark on this plant. It's a beauty and obviously easy to train as a topiary. But I digress. I have a lot more videos coming your way, so stay tuned for those. I thank you for all your likes and your comments. I really appreciate them. Now let's get out in our gardens and make our worlds a more beautiful place. Can we ever have too many plants in our lives? I think not. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.